there. This week I'm not wearing headphones because I have a very bad migraine, but I'm here, and I'm here to talk to you about leadership in games. I hope some of you are able to stop by this week. I don't have a ton of stuff. I'm only planning on streaming for about a half hour today because of my health. But I do always love the opportunity to get to see all of you in chat and talk a little bit about questions people ask me, as well as about the episodes we're working on. If all goes well, I will not have to rush from the room to get sick. And we'll get through the half hour with no extreme events. So today, the things that we are going to be going over is I need to work on the exercise for the followership episode, which I keep on running into. This episode, for some reason, has been particularly challenging, and I think it's because I am concerned that people will not be interested, even though the game that we're focusing on for the episode is particularly awesome. I'm just hoping that, everyone grasps it and enjoys it. I've been having a little bit of trouble with the exercises because I haven't gotten any feedback from anyone on them, and sometimes it's a little hard to tell what I'm going to be doing with them because of that. I don't always know what's appealing to people and stuff like that. So I'm working on it. But, it takes time. If you do happen to come into the chat, please definitely say hello and, send a message, because I like to know that you're here. I can still see the chat. I'm monitoring it, even though I don't have my headphones on or anything. But to kick off the episode, I want to talk a little bit about a question that I was asked by a viewer. I solicit questions a couple of days before the stream every week that I have a stream. And I don't always get to answer all of them, but most of the time I do, because there's, plenty of time and not a lot of questions. And this week I had a really good question from Arlene Metter, who is a viewer who has been a supporter for ages, basically, since the beginning, and is a friend of mine over on Google+. And Arlene asked, have you seen any game books with good advice for the GM as leader? And I only got this yesterday, so I didn't have a ton of time to do research for it, like I would normally for a question this detailed. The question itself isn't very long, but what it's asking has a lot of detailed information I could provide. So I will be, over the next week or so, trying to dig up some answers to this question. But I also wanted to open the floor to you as my viewers to basically solicit you to tell me, what are game books you think have good advice for the GM as leader? From your perspective of leadership, or from the perspective of leading with classes leadership ideas. Whenever you look at our ideal of leadership, do you see any games that exemplify that in the way they instruct the facilitator of the game to perform their role? If there's anything you think of like that, feel free to send it to us at leadingwithclass@gmail.com. You can send it to us via Twitter or via the Patreon if you're a supporter there at patreon.com/leadingwithclass. And on Instagram as well, you could comment with one. And that's instagram.com/leadingwithclass. And our Twitter is leadingwclass because of character links. But I'd really love to hear what you think is a good leadership manual, basically, for a GM. And if they're games that you think I could look at and talk about for the show, feel free to link them so that I can look them up. We don't have much of a budget for the show, but I do try and look at new stuff whenever I can. With that in mind, I'd like to say that the soon-to-be-released Turn has some good leadership guidance. Basically, in the town manager purposes, which is like the GM section. Basically, their purposes like principles in certain types of games, and I can briefly talk about those because I have them on my screen. Because I constantly have Turn on my screen. But someday I will not have it on here for work reasons at least. So Turn is a game about shapeshifters in small towns, and I designed it to focus a lot on like emotional stuff and less on like combat and things like that. And the town manager purposes, I'm just gonna read them all off and then point out the ones that are focused on leadership. They are make everything personal to the characters, always put the characters at risk of exposure, which is a mechanical function in the game, keep the characters connected, love the characters and all their flaws, give everyone a secret, use status as leverage, give every wrong a reason, don't let nonconformance go unnoticed, keep in mind that everything takes time, and offer every player and character moments of comfort and of success. And there's a lot more about leadership baked into the town manager, I think, in how you're supposed to act with the players, how you're supposed to behave. You're supposed to use script change, and so you respect their boundaries and stuff like that. But in the town manager purposes themselves, the ones that I really focused on for like leadership guidance are love the characters and all of their flaws, which is about ensuring you focus positively on respecting and loving characters that people have invested time and sometimes a lot of energy into. And you want to basically make them feel like, you want the players to feel like the GM role, so the town manager here, is as excited about their characters as they are, maybe even more. And it also means like recognizing, characters are flawed and that sometimes they aren't going to be able to meet expectations, and that we have to acknowledge that, and that is part of the game. Give every wrong a reason is really important too, because I'm really not okay with people having bad stuff happen in game that has no rational reason to happen. Like for NPCs to be mean to me for no reason as a player, it's really frustrating. To have, like a sudden bad event happen with no explanation can be very frustrating. So this is, basically it's about, building trust by giving reason behind the things that happen that may not be pleasant in game. And offer every player and character moments of comfort and success is about ensuring that even if there are complications, like using status as leverage and stuff like that in the game, that you balance it out positively in some fashion on a regular basis, because the characters and the players both deserve to feel satisfied and happy and safe throughout the play of the game, because that's a lot of what Turn is about. So those are like guidance for how to behave and how to perform as a GM that have to do with my perspective on leadership that I baked into the game. And there's more in here for sure, but I'm not going to focus on that the whole time we're talking today. So I did finish writing the episode on followership, which I'm very excited about. I talk about the game Companion's Tale by Laura Simpson, which is a game I have personally not been able to play, but I actually interviewed Laura about Companion's Tale ages ago. And I loved, like, everything that she had to say about it. And whenever I started working on the fellowship episode, it just made so much sense to look at it as a place for examples of followers and their complex backgrounds and identities that feed into their interaction with a leader. So, it is finished. I have a lot of definitions this episode, which is like a lot. And then, like, I have the whole list of the types of companions that are going to go in the little spinner at the front of the episode that John does. The big thing that I need to do is I need to do the exercise, which I am, like I said, hitting a little bit of a hiccup with, because I not a lot of people have looked at the exercises and given me any kind of feedback. So it's kind of it's kind of challenging to know whether what I've been doing is satisfying people, if people have even been looking at it, stuff like that. So just kind of trying to push through. And, like, I'm not saying this to complain. I'm saying it to be honest. Like, it is actually very challenging as a creator to, make things, and they're the kind of things that you want people to be using actively. And it's very difficult to not have the things, like, mentioned, because you can't figure out if you're doing it right or not. Basically, feedback is really essential, and eventually we will have an episode addressing feedback if we get past season 1 and people still stay engaged. So I need to find Laura's website. And find out where this is now available. Okay, Sweet Potato Press. Companion's Tale. Here we go. It's at IPR. So this is one of the things that you end up having to do whenever you, like, reference people's games in your media, is you have to, like, find everything and link to everything properly, which is always, a little bit, like, stressful, because you want to make sure you do it just right. I really wish that I could afford a copy of this game right now, because it just looks so gorgeous and so fun. I'm gonna leave this stuff for John to, like, properly put together. I'm gonna have, like, a ton of definitions to do, but I'm not gonna do that while I'm on stream, because that I know is boring to watch, so I won't make you all sit through that if you're sitting here. Just so you know, I don't actually look at the number of people watching the episode most of the time, because it stresses me out a little bit. Epic Dictionary names equipped. I'm unfamiliar with Any epic dictionary? Or are you saying that I have a lot of definitions because my dictionary action is epic? Wanting to make sure I understand you clearly. Okay, I do again mention script change in the X cards, so I'll leave those in there. Yeah, so defining things is really important for leading with class. We have a lot of unique terms. We have a lot of terms from leadership studies that are sometimes a little obscure. And then there's also like game terms to define and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of time like trying to just make sure that people can understand what I'm talking about. And that's why the exercises always have definitions and the videos always have definitions on the screen and at least somewhat aloud, like read aloud. And it's mostly because this is a learning exercise. Like it is about people being educated and learning about things. So okay, so I normally for these episodes have an exercise and I have the exercise and some questions. And the questions normally inform the exercise. So I think I actually want to pop into the textbook, which might take a decade to load because it's on Kindle. And see if they have any little Q&As in here like they sometimes do to find out like what kind of follower are you. So I can't like use the exercises from in this book. I have to make my own. And so like I'm trying to figure out, I'm wondering if I could do like a little Q&A type thing to like do questions first and then for the exercise have them answer like a couple of questions that like might give an idea of like make them based on like the characters in Companion's Tale maybe. So let's see, for questions, when you reflect on your experiences as a follower in your workplace, social environment, and game table, do you think of your behavior as similar to any of the types of followers defined in the video, like the pragmatic follower, and trying to remember my own stuff. This is always the worst part, is I forget things. Effective and conformist. Effective follower, conformist follower, and the passive follower. Okay. to bring in. I created a special thing for this episode on how to effectively manage up, because I think managing up is really important. Managing up is effectively making sure that any leader you're following leads just as well as or better than you do. And since as followers we are all leaders, I want people to really engage with that and like actively try to like make that happen. In a current or past, let's see, situation in or out of game, how could you use the 4 C's of effective managing up to help solve a situation where you were treated unfairly or others were mistreated? So managing up is like basically the way that we lead from followership positions. Like whenever you're not the boss, you can use, different things, including stuff like safety tools and consent tools, to like help encourage your leader to do the things that you want, that are fairest and kindest and the most appropriate. And that's part of what I want to encourage people to do in this environment in the game. In like playing through, like watching Leading with Class and applying it in their life. So playing games and living life, like use these tools, right? And trying to offer more tools to do the work, including the 4 C's of effective managing up. Which I would love for more people to take a look at and like actually carry forward, like, because they're important to me. And basically with that, I was just providing a comment to give guidance to John whenever he comes in to work on this, because he lays out the episodes and the exercises for me. So for the exercise, think back on the characters mentioned in the video from video. Which use the Q&A and how So basically, with the exercise, I think what I want to do is give them a couple of situations where, like, the hero is acting a specific way, and they have to, like, say how they would respond to it based on the type of follower they're being. So I'll go over to the episode, to the types of followers and stuff. Sorry. So we had the monster and the childhood friend. Read the prompt for how the hero is behaving and explain how you would respond as one of those types of followers. So we have the monster and the childhood friend alienated. If you're watching and you have any questions, always feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer as best I can. I try my best. And if I'm ever clicking between screens too rapidly, please let me know. Passive is Nemesis. Effective, ally and patron. Pragmatic survivors, rescued and spy. Okay. Okay, so I need to think of a couple of ways to finish this out, basically by what kind of things heroes would be doing. But I'm actually coming up to the end of my time, and I definitely can feel the headache starting to encroach upon my function. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it like 2 minutes while I'm typing to wrap it up in case anyone has any questions. Feel free to ask them. I'll monitor the chat for the next like 2 or 3 minutes after this is processed, like because of the lag. And I'll respond to any questions and then finish up for the day. And this exercise will be available whenever the episode comes out, hopefully pretty soon. As soon as my migraine is done, we intend to film. I just can't film with the big bright lights with my head like this, so please do ask any questions if you have them. Heroes making sudden changes to the plan for trip side to for and changes frustrating for you. Slow process. Capitalized hero because I wrote a game where the character was referred to as hero and capitalized. I can't help it. Hero. Jeez. Alright. So these are the kind of prompts that I'm going to be working with. I think I'm going to make probably 5, and people can respond to them as they want. Basically, like, one will be explicitly positive, and we'll see how it goes. But thank you so much for watching. Anyone who has stopped by, I really appreciated it very much. And I hope that you'll click through and watch the episode when it goes up, hopefully quite soon. And in the meantime, please feel free to check out our existing episodes by going to patreon.com/leadingwithclass. It's the easiest way to get to our YouTube channel because we don't have a vanity URL, like custom URL yet. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for stopping by Names Equipped. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And honestly, good luck with everything that's going on right now. I know the world's kind of crazy. So I'm looking forward to getting through the work that I have at hand and this migraine abating. So take care. Thank you so much, and continue on leading with class.